this training is really focused on learning about Workday time tracking. So as you've read, we are moving away from Chronos. Yay! I hope everyone shares that excitement with me. And we're moving to Workday time tracking. And so there's a few reasons why we've decided to move away from Chronos and into Workday time tracking. So as you know, we have our HR, so all of your personal employee data already housed in Workday. So and obviously your payroll information, all of that's already housed in Workday, along with all of our finance. And so we thought it would be great to bring Workday in, time tracking into Workday, and I'll make it all just one system for you all. So today we're going to go over major changes. So what we can expect to really change from Chronos to Workday, some of the terminology changes, the resources that are available for you and that will be available for you once we go live with Workday time tracking. And then I'm going to do some live demonstrations of some of the things that we're going to experience as we move into this new time tracking system. Any questions, please feel free to interrupt me and ask. I tend to forget things. I don't write them down, and most of the time I don't. So please, as you know, things come up, feel free to ask any questions. Okay, so some of the major changes is that we can expect to see when we move into Workday time tracking. It's obviously going to be a completely new visual experience for you all. I don't know how familiar you are with Workday, but I'm hoping that with time tracking now being hosted in Workday, that you'll learn to navigate Workday some more, and that you make it a fun experience. And although I do realize that many of us are not Workday fans, I hope that this transition will get you in a better place with understanding and learning about Workday. One really major thing, and supervisors are more aware of this, is that when we make a change to someone's record, for example, if you have a direct report and we need to update their supervisor from somebody else to you, it does take 24 hours usually for Chronos to update with any changes that we make in Workday because of the way the file feeds go over into Chronos. And so now the great thing is that those changes will be immediately visible in Workday. So as soon as we make that update, you're going to experience that change, and there's not going to be I'm sorry, you have to wait 24 hours to see that. So that's one major thing. One other big change that you're going to experience is that currently in Chronos, you see your entire pay period when you open your time card. In Workday, you're actually going to see week by week. So you're not going to have the full pay period display on your time card. It's going to be on a weekly basis. And I'll demonstrate what that looks like in the demonstration piece. And then one other major change is the approval process. So because the way Workday is fundamentally created or set up is everything goes through an approval process, what they call a business process. So when you submit something, whether it's a time off request or whether it's your time card, it's going to route to your supervisor for approval, and it's going to show in their Workday inbox for approval. Until the supervisor makes that approval, for example, for time cards especially, we won't be able to capture that time in payroll until that's completed. So we're really asking that you're very adamant about going in, submitting your time cards for approval, because until your supervisor can't submit them until you do, until you approve it on your end. And I'll talk about that a little more in the demonstration process. So that's one other big change that we're going to experience. And then finally, mobile accessibility. So you're going to be able to access, you already can, but we're going to promote if you wish to access Workday via your mobile, it is going to be accessible through your credentials, just to make sure you know that it's safe. And you're going to be able to clock in and out through your mobile, enter time through your mobile, et cetera, et cetera. So we're hoping that that's a big bonus for our community. Any questions on major changes? Okay. Moving on. So these are some of the terminology changes that we can expect as part of, and I'll let you kind of go through these and review them as I'm speaking a little bit, but you know, terminology changes do affect kind of the way we understand Chronos versus how we should be understanding Workday. And so I think having these in the back of our mind when we're in Workday, it's going to help us connect the dots from Chronos versus Workday and those changes that are happening. I think the biggest piece is going to be Workday refers to time off as absence. So you're going to see absence requests, but sometimes you're also going to see time off. So it could be a little confusing in that sense. But remember, when you see absence, it refers to time off, whether it's vacation, sick, bereavement, jury duty, all of those pieces are part of our absence plan or absence setup in Workday. Another big one is accrual codes. So currently in Chronos, you select a pay code or an accrual code when you're requesting time off or entering jury duty, for example. In Workday, it's considered a plan. So just be mindful of that. The biggest other, I think, terminology change is going to be for supervisors, and I'll go through this more in depth in the supervisor training, but historical corrections are actually going to be referred to as retro in Workday. Okay. And then resources, you've hopefully navigated to our new time tracking website and seen what's all included in there, but we're currently creating job aids videos and then these recorded sessions that we'll make available to you on that website. There's also a frequently asked question section that hopefully will answer some of your most popular questions as far as this transition goes. If there's anything on there that maybe is not covered in this training, or you know, you're going in and doing your training in the system, kind of trying to play around with Workday time tracking, I'm going to share a link to our testing tenant where you can go in and play with the new setup. So when you're going through that and question comes up that maybe hasn't been answered, you're free to reach out to us and we'll be sure to keep track of those questions so that we can then include them in this FAQ section. We will be adding our job aids and videos to Workday Resources tab, and I'll show you what that is in a bit. And then obviously you have your supervisor and you will have us as a resource as well. Okay, so we have a tenant. So it's basically a mirror image of our Workday production tenant. So where we go live right now into production to do any supplier invoices and things like that. So we have this tenant set up with time tracking, so that part of my testing in setting up Workday time tracking, that's where I would go in and play around with, make sure that all of the calculations and rules and all that good stuff is set up correctly. But we're making it available to you all so that you can go in prior to go live and try it out, right? Go in and enter an absence request or a time off request. Go in and enter time on your time card and submit it for approval, things like that, so that you can start getting familiar with the view, the layout, the way that this new system is going to function, and so that you can be more comfortable come January in going in and entering time. Okay, one thing to note is that the last refresh that took place in this tenant was on 8/31. So if you were hired after 8/31, you're probably not going to be able to log on. That's no problem. Reach out to me and I can work with you on that. Or you may notice things like, I don't know, if you had a promotion 9/1, you're not going to see that that new position in Workday because it happened after 8/31. So anything that's in the system is as of 8/31 and prior. All right, so let me log on to the testing tenant. And I am going to demonstrate some of these major things. So we're going to go in and we're going to submit a time off request. We're going to go in and submit, enter time, right, as an employee. So what I'm going to do is I am going to log on as an hourly employee. And mind you, I've created a lot of test employees just to keep, I didn't want to log on as one of you and showcase your Workday profile. So I wanted to be sensitive to your privacy and all that good stuff. So I'm going to log on as Brady Test. Brady Test is, and can everyone see my Workday screen? Okay, perfect. So Brady Test is an hourly employee. And we notice right away that he has the absence application under your top apps, and he has a time application. So the absence application we're going to use for anything absence or time off related. So if you want to request a time off, if you want to change a time off request that you've already submitted, if you want to, I don't know, I forgot that I requested time off, or how many days are coming that I have off, things like that. This is going to be your application for that. We have the time request. So this is going to be your application for entering time. Okay. So let's go first into the absence app. And right away, we can see that we can request an absence or correct an absence. And we also have our available balance displayed right away for us. So I want to request an absence. Let me make sure I have enough vacation time to request this 40-day week that I want to request off. So then we click into request absence, and we're going to see our absence calendar right here. There's two ways that you can request an absence. You can select a date range by clicking here. The downside with selecting the date range is that you're only able to select consecutive days or one day. So let's say I want to take just the 9th off. Okay, it automatically populates to the 9th, which is great. And then I select my type of time off that I want to request. But let's say that I want to request the 9th and the 11th. Those are not consecutive days. This method will not allow me to do that. Okay, for that, what we prefer that you do is that you use the calendar. So here I'm going to select the 9th and the 11th, and you can see that the days you've selected get highlighted with this, with the blue circle around the number. And then you click 2 days request absence on the bottom left corner. And please, you know, if I'm going too fast, let me know. Again, we're going to have job aids available. We're going to have videos available that you can pause and go on your own pace when you're doing this. Okay, so we're going to request 2 days off. Click on the 2 days request absence, and then it wants us to tell it what type of time off we want. So for that, you're going to select type and then time off request. So see, remember I had mentioned that you're going to see time off sometimes. This is one example where you're still going to see time off instead of absence. So we're going to request time off, and then I can see the available time off that I can submit. I'm going to do vacation. And then you see my position here populate. Okay, for folks, I don't think any of you have multiple jobs, but for folks that have, let's say, 2 positions, especially, this is especially true for students, right? This is where they would identify the job that they're requesting the time off for. Okay, so then we're going to click next. And then it takes us to this request absence screen. Here, we can make changes to, for example, if we don't want to take 8 hours off for each of these days. So I can go in and I can edit the quantity. Let me go back. By selecting edit quantity per day on the right side. Okay, so we're going to click edit quantity. And then you can either update it up here or you can go in here. And then I'm going to say start day, start date at 1 p.m., something. Anything that you want to communicate to your supervisor, this is going to be the place to do it. So I want to take half a day off on the 9th, and I want to take a full day off on the 8th. I want to say I need to do something or something. I don't know. And that's for my supervisor to see. I can attach anything, any files here. This is especially handy if you are requesting, for example, jury duty time, where we ask that you provide us with documentation to show that you've been summoned to jury duty. You can scan your document, take a photo of your document, and then include it here. And then we're going to hit submit. You're going to see your request has been submitted, okay? That tells you that your request has been sent to your supervisor for review and approval. Okay, so now notice the difference between this time off and this time off. When you hover over the time off request, it tells you that the request has been submitted, the type off, and then the date, right? The difference between this gray request and this green request is that the green one you see is approved sick. This one is submitted vacation, which means that my supervisor has yet to approve these requests, okay? This is important when you want to cancel or when you want to change a submitted time off request. Why? Because when it's still in submission, not approved, canceling it is very easy. You just click cancel this request here. And then it says cancel the business process. You're going to enter a reason why you want to cancel it. And then you're going to click submit. All right. Then it's going to be completely removed. It's not going to go to your supervisor to approve a cancellation that hasn't yet been approved. Okay, so it's just going to be canceled. When you're canceling an approved time off, however, there's two ways that you can cancel or you can change. So here, notice it says correct. So I feel like there may be confusion in the future regarding correct and absence. Correcting an absence is both for canceling and for changing. So if you want to cancel, you're going to still correct it. Okay, I know it's confusing, but you're still going to correct it. So that's the way Workday labels it. To cancel it, you're simply going to remove it here. Click a negative. That means you're removing it from your request. Okay. To edit the time, you can click select here. And then you can change the quantity here. Okay. Let's say, you know what? I shouldn't be taking this as sick time. I need to take it as vacation time. So I'm going to update the time type, vacation. And I'm only going to take 6 hours this day, not 8. So I'm going to update that. I can add a comment to explain the reason for my change to my supervisor. And then under details, we're going to see the original request. So sometimes we'll go in and we'll make changes and they're like, we may forget, wait, what was the original request? I don't want to exit out of what I've already done. So they have made it simple for us to go back and review what was originally submitted. And again, you can enter a comment here. You can attach a document, and then we're going to click submit. So notice that now my changes have shifted, right? I can see the original submitted sick, which I deleted. Remember, I clicked the minus sign, but it's still showing on my calendar because it has not yet been approved. My change has not been approved yet by my supervisor. So just be mindful of that and always remember to hover over your requests to check whether or not they've been submitted. When you do submit a request and it is approved, you will receive an email similar to how you currently do from Kronos, letting you know your request has been approved. You're also going to be receiving that from Workday, okay? Similar to if you make a change, you're also going to be notified once that change is approved. Any questions, concerns, comments on this particular piece? Okay.
Crystal, I have a question. Thank you for doing this, by the way.
Yes, of course.
The correction to the absence, can that be done after, like, you know, I remember one time I had under odd circumstances, there was a vacation that I had planned, but I got sick and I forgot to cancel the vacation. And, you know, for the 4 days I was sick, in the middle of that was a couple of days of vacation. Can those corrections be made after the dates have passed?
So meaning if, let's go here.
If that happened the first 3 or 4 days in the pay period, and I realized, oh my gosh, I still have, or is that something that's going to have to go through higher authority and Workday?
You will be able to make the change in the system. It's just what's gonna happen is it's gonna be considered a retro adjustment through payroll. So because, and Victor, I'm sorry, am I right in assuming that you mean once a pay period has closed?
No, I'm saying, you know, like if it happened last week, that, you know, I'm on Friday looking at my schedule and realizing, oh my gosh, I didn't, you know, I was sick for 3 days or 4 days, and one of those days I actually had a vacation planned.
Yep. No, I hear you.
I want to change that.
Yep, definitely. You're definitely going to be able to go in and make changes. What I would recommend is, you know, as much as we do already, try to have your time reflected as accurately as possible, especially towards the end of the pay period.
Right.
Because there is going to be a lockout. But things happen, you know, sometimes we can go in, sometimes we can't. And that's where retro would come in. So say the pay period closes. Oh no, I forgot to change my time for last pay period. That's where retro would allow you to, but it's again going to go through that approval process, right? Where you're going to send the change, it's going to go to your supervisor. And then in payroll, it's going to be captured as a retroactive change.
Is this what traditionally, at least up until now, has been called a historical change?
Exactly. Okay. That is correct.
Cool. Yep. All right. Sorry, no. I'm late. I have this job over here that I got to take care of anyway.
Oh, I understand.
Thanks.
Thanks, Victor. Great question. Anything else, folks? Great. Okay. So let me go back here to my home page. I'm going to go back to my absence. So let's say now I want to, you know what? I want to see how much accrual balance I will have starting February. So that's fairly easy to do. If you click on absence balance here, you'll be able to enter a future date. So let's say I want to see Brady's absence balance starting March of 2023. So you want to select the date that you want to see the balance as of, click OK. And wow, I thought it was just going to be like, you know, a couple of numbers. Look at all of this information. What do I do with it? How do I understand it? No problem. What you really want to focus is just this last column over here on the right side, ending period balance, including pending events. So what this means is that Workday is providing you your balance as of March 1st, 2023, that includes any request that I've made up to that date. So say I have 2 days off in January, 2 days off in February. My vacation balance is going to reflect those days. Okay, so we want to look at the ending period balance on the right side. So he's going to have 162 days of vacation, 148 of sick, and then COVID sick. Okay. Any questions, concerns on this piece? Okay, perfect. So now we're going to move on to time entry. Time entry, woohoo! This is how we get paid. So this is the most important part of this. So time entry, there are 2 ways that folks will be able to enter time. And Nico, and I don't know if Nico's on, but Griselda, this is more not so much for facilities folks and dining folks. For that group of our population, they'll be able to use the clock in and clock out feature. But for other staff members, you can enter time by selecting this week or by checking in and by checking out. The time clock feature is real-time check-in. So if I click on it, okay, it's going to ask me the time type and then okay. The time type really is more so if you're going to, for facilities folks, for example, that sometimes have a callback, they'll be selecting callback, or if you're making up time. And this feature here, making up time, is used for instances where, for example, you took a day off and or some time off on Friday, but you're gonna work on Saturday, and it's to make up some of that time, then you can use makeup time. But otherwise, we really wanna leave it as worked hours, the default time type, okay? And then we're gonna click okay. And what that's gonna do, it's gonna check us in. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And it says I have checked in at the date and the time, and then it updates here with the check-in and check-out. So if I go back, let's say in an hour, and I wanna check out, this little icon here, the message will still appear. And this is especially helpful if you sometimes, I don't know, you're going about your day really fast and you click check-in again. Let's say we do that. We have this here that's kind of like a safeguard to ensure that you don't check in twice in a row. You already checked in. Why are you trying to check in again? Are you sure you want to check in? Then if I click OK, it's not going to let me go through. I have to select the checkbox. Okay. So cancel that. Okay. Checkout is fairly simple. You can check out for your meal, okay, for your break, or you can check out for your day. So you're going to select the reason why you're checking out, and then you're going to click OK. And voila, that's checking in and checking out feature. Okay. This week, if we click on this week, what it's going to do is going to take us to our time card. And here's where you're going to see that difference between seeing your entire pay period to seeing just a week at a time. So notice that here, it takes me to my current week, okay? And I can see all of those vacation and time off requests that I've submitted on my absence calendar. It's gonna be automatically brought into my time card. And then now you can see my work week here. So my work week is from Saturday to Friday. I do not see the 2 pay periods. But what we do have is, if I go to the week after, so next week is the end of the pay period, I just see a period end date. This message is to help me remember the dates that are within the pay period. Okay, so my pay period is going to end on the 18th. When I see this, I know that on this Friday is when I must submit my time card for approval. Okay, so let me go back. This unmatched check-in is because I checked in earlier, but I haven't checked out. So it's giving me a message, hey, look, this needs attention. You've already checked in, but you haven't completed your shift. Make sure you complete your shift. So I can do this by checking out, or here's the other method of time entry. If I click into here, I can enter my time. So this is similar to how you're currently doing in Chronos, where you're going in and saying, I started my day at 8 a.m. I ended my day, I'm going to clock out for my break, 12 p.m. My out reason is going to be meal. It automatically calculates for you the number of hours, and then I'm going to click OK. And there it is. Now I see my time block here, okay? if let's say I decide, you know what, I'm gonna check out, I'm not gonna use the checkout icon. I just wanna check out using this time entry method. I simply click on it and then I enter my time and then I click OK. And notice that because this time block, this shift is very small, you just see a bunch of gray lines here. But if you click on it, then you can see the actual information that is submitted. And then additional, you can review the total daily time right under the dates up here. So for this day, because I have 4 vacation hours and because I have 4 worked hours, you can now see the total up here for this day is 8 hours. You can also see it on the right side next to summary. And I'm sorry, I know that this may be confusing as far as the number of digits. Workday defaults to 6 digits after the decimal automatically. So unfortunately, we can't just show 22.4, for example. It's gonna show you all those rounded numbers up to a 6-digit number. But you can see here the number of hours that I've worked that are considered regular. It's 4.38. And then you can see the number of hours that I have for pay time off. Okay. If I, let's say, now for missed meal periods. So if you work more than 6 hours, you are, oh, not more than 6 hours, I should say. If you work a shift that is 6 hours or less, you are not required to take a meal break. You can waive the meal we're going to have a document for you to sign as part of Workday time tracking that if you work less than 6 hours, you can waive your meal. If you work a full shift, say 8 hours, then you're required to take your meal break. Your meal break should be taken before the start of your 5th hour. Okay, so if you work, let's say, as an example, from 8 a.m. and you don't take lunch until 1 p.m., that's 5 hours of shift. What's going to happen is a meal penalty is going to apply. All right. And you're going to see the meal penalty reflected in 2 ways. You're going to see it reflected here on the day, and you're also going to see it under the summary as missed meal penalty. So we recommend, highly recommend that you always take or begin your meal break before the 5th hour, even if it's 12:59. If it's 12:59 p.m., the system will automatically remove that meal penalty for you. Okay? So try really hard to not take a late lunch. Okay? Any questions on the meal penalty? Okay, perfect. So I am going to now change this time block because I don't like all those rounded numbers. So I'm going to change this from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Now let's do 2 p.m. Did you see how I made an update to that time entry? I just clicked on it, went in and made the change and click OK. Now what I also want to show you is that anything that you change as far as your time card, it's going to track. So now if I click onto the time block and I click view details, this is going to tell me under history what has happened to this time block, if you will. So on 11/8 at 10:11, this time block was created. This is when I entered my out time, right? And this is the quantity of the time. Then at 10:15 a.m., I went in and I updated it to 4 hours. Okay, so just be mindful of that, it's tracking the changes that happen. So if you make an update, if your supervisor makes an update, it's going to be time stamped in the system, and we'll be able to see that. The calculated tab is more for just, it's the way that the system is calculating whether you're working 4 regular hours, or if you're work over 8 hours, how that overtime hours are being calculated, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So then I'm going to go ahead and notice for sick, it says 0 hours. Do you see that? That's because I've submitted this change for 0 hours, but it's pending approval. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log on as Brady's supervisor. I think it's Michelle. And I can see in my inbox the changes that are awaiting my awaiting my action as a supervisor. So I can see the correction from Brady and then another original request from Brady. Okay, so then I can simply click on it. And then I go here and then I can see, okay, so 11/7, sick hours. He previously requested 8, now he's requesting 0. This tells me he doesn't want to take this day off. And then for 11/8, he previously did not request this day, and now he's requesting 6 hours. And then, and that's for vacation. So we see the time type there. Okay, so I'm going to approve this request. And I'm going to approve this one. So here he's requesting, remember that comment that I added, start my day at 1 p.m. Now your supervisor can see that information here. Okay, so whether you want to take a morning off or an afternoon off, you can add that into your comment section to make it clear to your supervisor why you're taking this time off. And I'm going to approve that. All right, so then I'm going to go back as Brady. And I'm going to show you now that the time is approved, or the time off is approved, what that looks like on his time card. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here to see the time card. And now we see, voila. Check off approved, approved, approved. The sick time is completely gone. I don't see it anymore. And now I'm ready to submit my time card. I have no other changes. Should I submit my time card for this week, although the pay period isn't completed yet? What do you guys think? Yes, no, maybe. Let's try it. We're going to review it. So it's telling me, following date range. I agree to all the entries are true and accurate representation. Following date range will be submitted for approval, and it's telling me from November 5th to the 18th, a total of 30 hours. I'm still going to submit it because I didn't read that. I'm going to submit. Uh-oh. So now it's back to Michelle. So let's log on as Michelle. Wait, before I do that, let's say now it's Monday, November 14th. Look, I can still enter time, even though I've already submitted a time card for approval. Let's see. Let's try approving it as Michelle and see if it still lets me approve it. Let's go back. And we're going to log on as Michelle. There it is. Time entry. Let's click on it. Let's see what it looks like. So it's telling me, okay, Brady test worked 4 hours the 8th, 4 hours the 9th, and less than 5 hours Thursday, the 10th. And these are the times that I'm going to approve. So this is just a little more detail, like it gives you the ins, the outs, and all that good information. So I'm going to close that off a little bit. Now, what does this do? All current time. So it gives you a history of all that's happened as far as time goes, including time off. So it's telling me there was sick time requested that was removed. So you see the -8. And then you see another -8 for sick time that was changed on the 8th. You see the worked hours here, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you know, I didn't notice that this is it's okay. I'm going to approve it. I think it looks great. I'm going to approve it. So then now let's go back to Brady test. And let's see if it lets us continue to enter time, although we've already submitted that block of that period for approval and it was approved. So let's go here. Let's go back to the time card. And what do we see? Look, it tells us this time was approved, this time was approved, all of this time has been approved. Let's go enter time for the week of the 12th to the 18th. And it lets us enter time. I'm going to take a meal break. And then I'm going to enter my afternoon time from 1 p.m. to 5. Oh no. Yes, 5 p.m. And that's I'm out for the day. And then I'm going to work 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Tuesday. But Tuesday, I'm going to work a little bit of overtime. I'm going to work till 6 p.m. So notice now I have a total of 9 hours for Tuesday. And on the summary page, I can see the number of hours that are overtime. Okay. If I click and then notice it says not submitted. Okay. Versus the other one, it tells me that it's already approved. Okay. So now I'm going to, let's say, submit this time card. I'm going to click review. Maybe it's done. It doesn't want to do anything else. Okay, so again, it tells me the following date range will be submitted for approval. So what it's doing is actually now aggregating or adding the second week to your originally submitted time card. So I'm going to say including. I'm going to click submit. So then now it went back to my supervisor for approval, and notice the status on my time blocks is now submitted. So it's telling me what I've already done. I've already submitted my time for approval. Okay, so now as Michelle, and the reason why I'm going back and forth as Michelle is because I want you to have a feel of what your supervisor is going to see in case there's any questions or anything, you can understand, right, what their experience is like with time tracking. Perfect. So now I see time entry, Brady test, and then it says 17 total. So this total is now only for week 2 because I've already, as Michelle, approved week 1. Right? So notice that it's only showing me the dates for week 2. It's not showing me the dates for week 1, although I submitted the time card for the entire pay period. So, and the reason why I'm demonstrating this is because although we may be interested or, you know, wanting to complete or submit our time card for the week because now Workday works as a weekly function versus a pay period function, I highly recommend that for your supervisor's sake that you complete it at the end of the pay period, okay, versus weekly, so that they're able to have a full picture of your time card versus just a weekly picture, okay? So then we click approve as a supervisor and we're done. These hours will now be pulled into payroll and I will be paid up accordingly. Okay? Any questions around time entry? Okay, great.
I do have a quick question.
Yes.
For the when you had the vacation across the top and then the hours were in the bottom,
Mhm.
vacation will only be on the top. It'll never be in that sort of like I was on vacation from 1 to 4
And this was as Michelle?
as Brady.
As Brady. So on his time. So let's go to his time card. Here's where you mean, right?
Yeah, so on Wednesday the 9th, there's 4 hours of vacation. And I kind of have to, in my head, know that that was the afternoon. I don't put it in those actual hours.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Right. It doesn't necessarily want you to identify the time period for which you're taking vacation. It's really just for that day you're taking 4 hours. And then based on when your time block is, you'll be able to identify, okay, it was in the afternoon because I worked in the morning. Good question. And this concludes our training for hourly employees. Thank you for watching.